සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර 3කින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Good evening. Tonight, seeking justice. A heated protest in Suryawava leaves several injured as residents demand for compensation for the loss to their property due to a development of the 100 feet road. Better education. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that many appointments in the educational sector is politically motivated. Failure to comply. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna seeks court support in pressuring the Elections Commission in holding the Provincial Council elections at the stipulated time.
I will go to the Supreme Court to compel the Elections Commission to hold the Provincial Council election.
A new bird in the sky. Sri Lankan Airline completes acquisition of its A320 Neo series as the final aircraft of the fleet handed over ceremoniously.
We plan for a first commercial flight towards the end of this week.
And the mystery continues. After years of investigations, the MH370 mystery has culminated in a new report that says the doomed plane was under manual control when it veered off its course and disappeared.
We cannot exclude the possibility of a third person or third party or unlawful interference.
Live across the nation, this is Sri Lanka's news channel Other Derana 24/7. Hello everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny and welcome to First at 9. Well, MH370 is back in the news again as a new report says that it was indeed a manual input that made the plane disappear. The full story on our international segment, but first we begin here at home and take you straight to Hambantota. A tense situation occurred at 100 feet road at Suryawava in Hambantota today during a protest by residents in the area. Protesters request compensation for their houses and property lost due to the expansion of the road. 3 individuals were left injured when a tense situation erupted at the scene while police apprehended 2 suspects during the protest.
Residents who lost their houses and property owing to the expansion of the 100 feet road at Suryawava engaged in a satyagraha campaign for the 45th day today, demanding compensation promised by relevant authorities. A section of residents gathered in front of the Suryawava Divisional Secretariat and engaged in a protest. A representative by Minister Mahinda Amaraveera attempted to intervene, but efforts were proved futile. Protesters continued the agitation campaign despite the magistrate order to vacate the premises. Police arrested 2 demonstrators during the protest campaign. 3 persons, including 2 women, have been admitted to the Hambantota hospital for further treatment.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe alleges that teaching appointments are given under political influences, disrupting the education process of students. The Premier made these remarks at an event held in Galle today.
The Technology Building Principal's Quarters and Staff Room of the Zahira College in Galle were declared open by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today. The foundation stone for a building for students with special needs was also laid by the Premier.
We need necessary equipment and infrastructure to develop a school along with good teachers. A school won't be developed without trained teachers. Unfortunately, in our education system, political appointments are made more often without any consideration for students. And even these appointments are given to untrained teachers. We decided to train each and every teacher during my tenure as the education minister. We were to give them the proper training and even establish teacher trainings, academies and a national education institute. But this program was not continued for political reasons. Examinations Commissioner General Sanath Pujita says that geofencing technology will be implemented to monitor exam cheating via electronic devices such as mobile phones during the GCE advanced level examinations. However, Minister of Telecommunications and Digital Infrastructure Harin Fernando says that he was not informed of implementing such a procedure.
The GCE advanced level examinations for this year are scheduled to commence on the 6th of August. 321,469 applicants are eligible to face the examination in 2,268 centres. Department of Examination has taken measures to provide various benefits for students this year. This will include the decision to grant a 10-minute extra time allocation to read out papers compiled for 3 hours. Meanwhile, the Department of Examinations has prohibited conducting tuition classes for the A-level examination with effect from midnight tomorrow. Examinations Commissioner General Sanath Pujita says that any individual or an institution who violates the order will be charged under the Public Examinations Act. Following incidents reported last year, the department is also ready to implement the geofencing technology to monitor exam cheating via electronic devices such as mobile phones in selected examination centres. Telecommunications Regulatory Commission and Sri Lanka Signal Co will be supporting the process. Meanwhile, Minister of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure Harin Fernando says that he had not been informed by the relevant officials regarding the procedure and expressed doubts over its success.
I read about this in the newspaper because I wasn't informed of it. There are many examination centers in Colombo and I don't know how they are going to jam all these signals. It is done in prisons, but when it comes to this situation, there will be disruptions to nearby businesses as well. The best option is to do a good body check on these students before they go into the exam centers. Jamming these signals will cause practical issues. Minister of Higher Education Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa says that the law regarding ragging is currently in full implementation. Therefore, a person can be jailed for 10 years if found guilty. Convening a media briefing in Colombo today, the minister also highlighted that discussions with students would be impossible if they follow the path of violence.
A student who sustained injuries due to the tear gas attack during the protest held by the students of Higher National Diploma on the 25th of this month has lodged a complaint with the Human Rights Commission today. Meanwhile, convening a media briefing today, Minister of Higher Education Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa expressed his views over the most prominent problems that arise within the universities, including ragging.
There are investors who invest to sabotage the education system of this country. These are conducted by bankrupted political parties which are a burden on this country. When it comes down to discipline, Prohibition of Ragging and Other Forms of Violence in Educational Institutions Act of 1998 still exists. If accused, the magistrates too has no power to grant bail, and if convicted, they are handed a jail term of 10 years. This law is fully implemented in present.
සාකච්ඡාවට ආවට ඔබතුමාලා සාකච්ඡාවක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි ප්‍රධානම ගැටලුවක් ලෙස කියන්නේ. අවස්ථා දෙක තුනකදී අපි දැක්ක මාධ්‍යයෙන්
During 2 or 3 occasions, the media reported students screaming and demanding for discussions behaving like underworld figures. Discussions will not be held with school hooligans.
පාතාලයෙන්ට සාකච්ඡා දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, the representatives of the Trincomalee campus and the Southeastern University expressed views over the student violence that took place in their respective universities.
Most important demand of the students is withdraw the punishment. In 2017, the same student union co-staged around 60 staff inside the building more than 7 hours. Then on 20th of March 2017, the same group of students disturbed the exam. Based on the inquiry reports, the council decided to give a 2-year and 1-year punishment. Based on the students' appeal, those 1 year and 2 years punishment reduced to 9 months.
The campus in the Oliville, there are 6 faculties in this university, but the problem is only with Faculty of Technology. Their main demand is on punishment given to the people who physically ragged the first years, and some of them were bleeding, and this complaint came to the UGC and the inquiries were held by the University Vice Chancellor, who appointed a committee through which some of the students who were involved in the ragging, the registration was cancelled.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa stresses that due provincial council elections should be held as soon as possible under the previous or a new system. The former head of state made this remark speaking to media after an event held at his official residence in Colombo today.
Illawarra took oaths as a council member of the Balangoda Urban Council before former President Mahinda Rajapaksa in Colombo today.
It seems that the government is afraid of holding elections. Some say it should be held under the previous system. Some say it should be held according to the new system. Whatever the system, elections should be held soon. People are waiting for an election, but the government is afraid to hold one. The Commissioner of Elections cannot avoid this. He has a duty to hold the election within the due period. Well, the new act was brought, but it was not completed. Till the new law is implemented, the previous law is valid. Therefore, no obstacles to hold the elections by the Commissioner according to the previous system. That affects our government, not for this government. Elections in the north was held because of me. I held elections when most went against for it. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that changes made in the constitution is being done to fulfill one's personal agendas. He expressed these views at an event held in Galle today.
A building constructed in commemoration of the late Most Venerable Kodagura Sri Sangananda Thera was held at Divalagoda Purana Vihara in Galle today. The opening ceremony was held under the auspices of former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
When someone is afraid, they try to make changes in the constitution to fulfill their personal agendas. Imagine how much power one individual has to enable these changes. We were able to govern the country for 5 years following the war. During this period, we did not even hang posters in the east or the north. It is not that we did not have the freedom to do this, but we know how to create some form of leadership in a manner that did not pave way for anyone to bring back terrorism. In other local stories we have for you tonight, Minister of Telecommunication, Digital Infrastructure and Foreign Employment, Harin Fernando, says that trade unions should not launch strikes in a manner that inconveniences the public in order to win their demands. The minister made this remark speaking at a media briefing held in Sirikota today. I am of the view that if these people who launch strikes and are fond of their country and its people, they will never do something that inconveniences the public. Talking about doctors, has Dr. Padania ever complained that his hospital is running short of beds? Has he ever voiced about the problems doctors in rural areas face? Being of such nature, he is now protesting against the Singapore Free Trade Agreement. It would be a threat to them if those Singaporean doctors come to Sri Lanka. But why would they come here when they are getting paid 5 times than us? So will they do that? What a moronic thing to say. How disgraceful is it to inconvenience the patients? If there is a train strike, transport people for free of charge. Let the government face the loss. That's when the government will be afraid, and that is how the Japanese strike. What I just said is something that I should not say. The candidate for the 2020 election is similar to the story of the three-headed dragon, which represent Basil, Chamal and Gotabaya. The real face will be revealed in another 5 years, and that is Nawal Rajapaksa, to see its Rajapaksas everywhere. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Pires, is adamant that he will seek an enjoining order from the Supreme Court compelling the Elections Commission to hold the Provincial Council election in due time. Convening a media briefing in Colombo today, the professor also holds a trio of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Speaker Kharu Jayasuriya and the opposition leader R. Sambandhan responsible for delaying the Provincial Council elections.
Once the 5-year term is up, the elections have to be held to provincial councils. At that point, the government resorted to a subterfuge. They wanted by hook or by crook to postpone these elections. They hijacked a statute which had been placed before Parliament for an entirely praiseworthy purpose, that is to enhance the rights of women in this country with regard to the franchise. On 2 occasions, dates were assigned for this debate, but on both occasions, the debate was postponed. So Parliament never took this up for debate at all. There is an unholy trinity that is responsible for this. The first is the Prime Minister, who declares that at some point before the presidential election, the provincial council elections will be held. So that is, there's no guarantee of these elections being held for another 1 year and 4 months. The second party to the conspiracy is the Speaker of Parliament. It is with regret that we say this. The Speaker has failed in his obligation in 2 respects. It was the obligation of the Speaker to set a date for the debate to ensure that the debate takes place. He is also under a duty, if that does not happen, to appoint the review committee. He has not done any of this. The third person is the leader of the opposition, declared his view that the new constitution must be adopted before provincial council elections are held. So this is intolerable. This is a government that knows full well that it will suffer a humiliating defeat if these elections are held. So they keep postponing these elections. As the chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, I will go to the Supreme Court and seek a writ of mandamus to compel the Elections Commission to hold the provincial council elections. No more excuses should be accepted. They are under a duty to hold the provincial council elections under the law applicable for the time being.
The leader of the Lanka Samsamaj Party, Professor Tissa Vitharana, says that there are measures to introduce a provision within the newly drafted constitution which empowers the Prime Minister, the Speaker and the leader of the opposition to take a collective decision to unseat the President if they feel he is incapable of running a country. He also added that the constitution-making process is done in an undemocratic manner. He expressed these views at a media briefing organised by the Socialist Alliance today.
There is the whole constitutional process that is taking place in Parliament, which is long overdue, and now they have come to the stage where the elected representatives are those who are empowered to draft a new constitution. And that constitution there is being drafted and has to get a 2/3 majority in Parliament, and for certain clauses, referendum is required. Now this whole process is being done by a steering committee headed by the Prime Minister, and that process should be done democratically. But without doing that, what are they doing? They have appointed a 10-member expert committee to advise the lawmakers on the legal aspects. And this expert committee, the report that has been produced, is only signed by 6 people. One of the proposed resolutions is that the Prime Minister, the Speaker, the leader of the opposition are collectively empowered to get rid of the President if they feel that he is not fit to be President. Now this has been smuggled in there without the knowledge of the steering committee. Dinesh Gunawardena MP, who is a member of the steering committee, states very clearly that this was never brought to their notice, which should be done according to the procedures laid down in Parliament, are not being followed by a handful, and we are told at the directives of the Prime Minister.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Business news now. Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Cheng Xiu-yuan, issuing a media release, stated that the stable performances of Chinese economy with steady momentum is good news for the whole world, including Sri Lanka. Stating that Sri Lanka is a key component of the 21st century maritime Silk Road with Hambantota Port and Colombo Port City, the ambassador states that China-Sri Lanka Economic and Trade Cooperation will inject new vigour to Sri Lanka's economic and social development. According to the statistics released by China's National National Bureau of Statistics, China's GDP growth rate in the first half of 2018 reached 6.8%, contributing around 30% of global growth on average. Since 2002, China has become a key engine for world economic recovery and growth. China has become the world's second largest importer and largest source of outbound visits. China ranks number 3 worldwide in terms of annual flow of its outward foreign direct investment in 2017. The statement also says that China highly expects the Sri Lanka's participation at the first China International Import Expo in Shanghai due in November this year. From the 1st of next month, Vipula Gunathilaka will assume duties as the new Group Chief Operating and Finance Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines. Issuing a media release today, Sri Lankan Airlines stated that Gunathilaka will be tasked with overlooking the management of the national carrier. Prior to joining Sri Lankan, Vipula Gunathilaka was a board member and CFO of ATAG Angola Airlines, where he spearheaded the restructuring of the national carrier of Angola. Furthermore, Gunathilaka played a major role during the transition of management from Emirates Airlines to the government in the capacity of CFO. He has held senior leadership positions across companies in Sri Lanka, Singapore and Australia. Meanwhile, a special religious ceremony was organized by Sri Lankan Airlines to welcome an Airbus A320neo at Katnayake International Airport today. With the newest addition, Sri Lankan Airlines has now 6 Airbus neo aircrafts, completing its acquisition. Speaking to First at 9, Chief Technical Officer Dinagala Padmaperuma says that the maiden commercial flight of the aircraft is scheduled to take place towards the end of the week.
A religious ceremony was held to welcome the Airbus A321neo at Katnayake International Airport today with the participation of outgoing CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, Suren Ratwatta. According to the airlines, the aircraft arrived from Hamburg via Abu Dhabi yesterday. The aircraft consists of 176 economy seats and 12 business class seats, and it has provisions for on-air Wi-Fi.
The aircraft was finally assembled in Germany, where all the A321 aircrafts are assembled. Aircraft was taken delivery by Sri Lankan Airlines on Friday night, Colombo time. And after accepting the aircraft, it was on a ferry flight to Colombo, and the aircraft landed yesterday early morning hours of Sunday. And for the next 3 days, it will be undergoing some minor changes to induct it to our fleet and also to Sri Lankan Aviation Register. We plan for it for a first commercial flight towards the end of this week, and initially it will probably go to a regional destination. However, this aircraft is capable of flying all the way to Hong Kong, to Guangzhou in the eastern area. At the same time, it is also capable to fly to the Middle East, maybe up to Kuwait or to Doha. Those would be the extremes of the network.
Let's take you to the stock market now. Shares extended losses to a 5th straight session today. The all-share price index ended 0.41% weaker at 6,128.95. Its lowest close since July 12th, extending its year-to-date loss at 3.8%. Here is Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with more details.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,870.01 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 40.69 million rupees and foreign sales were 39.29 million rupees. And there were no crossings today.
International news now. Disappearance of MH370 of Malaysian Airlines became one of the biggest aviation mysteries in the world history. No one has been able to rule out what exactly happened to the plane or its 239 people on board. With the report released today, it seems, however, that some of the suspected theories behind the mystery are true. The final report on the missing MH370 was released today, and investigators concluded that plane's controls were deliberately manipulated to take it off course, but they were not able to determine who was responsible.
The long-awaited final investigative report consisting of 1,500 pages on the disappearance of MH370 of Malaysian Airlines was released today. It concludes that MH370 was manually turned around mid-air rather than being under the control of autopilot, and that unlawful interference by a third party could not be ruled out.
We are not of the opinion that it could have been an event committed by the pilot. But at the same time, we cannot deny the fact that there was an air turn back. We cannot deny the fact that, as we have analysed, the systems were manually turned off with intent or otherwise. So we feel that there's also one possibility that could account for all this. We are not ruling out any possibility. We're just saying that no matter what we do, we cannot exclude the possibility of a third person or third party or unlawful interference. The answer can only be conclusive if the wreckage is found.
Investigators also concluded that all 4 of MH370's emergency locator transmitters were malfunctioned, meaning they did not give off the normal distress signals that would help locate the plane. The report noted that there have been reported difficulties with ELT signals if an aircraft enters the water, but could not give conclusive reasons for the failure. Flight MH370 vanished with 239 people while en route to Beijing from Kuala Lumpur on 8th of March in 2014, leaving the incident to become one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries. It had just entered the Malaysian airspace when, for unknown reasons, the Boeing 777 changed course, flying for more than 6 hours with its satellite and navigation systems turned off before plummeting into Indian Ocean. Attempts to locate the plane have been extensive over the past 4 years, turning into one of the largest underwater search operations in history. But search operations yielded no results other than 3 wing fragments that washed up on the shore, leaving families entirely in the dark about what happened to their loved ones.
Well, after a deadly earthquake triggered landslides which cut off escape routes yesterday, more than 200 hikers are trapped on a mountain on the Indonesian tourist island of Lombok. Hundreds of rescue workers are now working to evacuate them from Mount Rinjani, a popular hiking destination.
A 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck the popular tourist destination of the Indonesian island of Lombok yesterday, killing 16 and injuring more than 160 people. The earthquake triggered landslides and cut off escape routes yesterday, leading hikers on Mount Rinjani to be trapped. Authorities say more than 500 people, mostly foreign tourists, have already come down from the mountain, but 266 are still trapped up there. Hikers from France, Thailand, the Netherlands and Malaysia are among those waiting to be evacuated off Mount Rinjani. Helicopters and search teams are now working on foot, are searching the mountainside to locate the stranded climbers. Indonesia is prone to earthquake as it lies on the Ring of Fire, the line of frequent quakes and volcanic eruptions that circles virtually the entire Pacific Rim. More than half of the world's active volcanoes above sea level are part of the ring.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
The 18th National Archery Championship concluded recently at the Institute of Technology at the University of Moratuwa, located in Diagama. This year's tournament was conducted according to international standards.
A total of 94 athletes from 14 sports clubs participated in the 2-day championship. The tournament includes 5 men's, 4 women's and a mixed event. Men's gold medal was won by Sajiv De Silva, while the silver was won by BMK Vijayaratne of Sri Lanka Navy. The bronze medal was clinched by Nipun Senaviratne. Women's gold medal was clinched by LM Kalubovil of Sri Lanka Air Force, while KP Himesha won the silver medal. The bronze was clinched by TM Silva.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures will range between 21 and 35 degrees Celsius over the course of the day, with the highest temperature recorded in the eastern region of the island. Now, if you take a look at the map, you can see that there will be a low precipitation zones, particularly forming in the western region of the island, and will move towards the central location in the next 24 hours. Now, this means that we can expect some wet weather in the northern region of the island, some thunder showers in Patiklo, and of course some patches of wet weather in the cities of Vauni and Putlam. Moving downwards, however, we can expect some wet weather, particularly main cities of Colombo, Galle and Kandy in the next 24 hours. That is it from your weather center tonight. Up next is your City by City forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Now, before we wrap things up tonight, we'd like to take you back to the final procession of the Ruhunu Mahakatragama Devale, which is the main event of the Asalapoya festivities. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.